This happened a week ago. I'm not writing it to impress anyone. And not because I enjoy remembering it. I'm writing because otherwise it feels like it didn't happen to me at all. As if I made it up to explain someone else's cruelty. Like if I give it words, it'll become a little less real. But words don't help. My name is Caleb. I'm 30. I work as a maintenance mechanic. No hero, no rescuer, no detective. I don't have a family, and if I'm honest, I don't have many attachments either. I live alone in an old 8-story building people in our courtyard call the Old Lady. And it really is old. The stairs are worn down like teeth. The paint on the railings peels off in layers, and the garbage chute hums and stinks like it's been fed something other than trash. Something alive. Still, we got along. Our entrance was the kind where people knew each other by name, where old women on the bench gossiped about who borrowed salt from whom instead of politics, where men fixed someone's leaking tap as a neighborly favor on Sundays, where on New Year's you could hear doors slamming and someone laughing while dragging champagne upstairs. The tenants were boring and reliable. Couples in their 30s, retirees, a few single men like me. Hardly any young people, hardly. On the 5th floor there was a girl, about 20, a student. Beautiful, well-kept, the kind who always smelled of sweet shampoo and expensive perfume. Nothing wrong with that. Young, free, living her life. But the old ladies in our building always had opinions. She's always running around, Mrs. Helena from the 1st floor would say. Running around like an alley cat. One man today, another tomorrow. Let her run around, one of the guys would shrug. What's it to us? It's something, Mrs. Helena would purse her lips. You'll see what it turns into. You'll see. Everyone knew what she meant. The girl really was always with someone. Sometimes a boy her age, sometimes an older man who pulled up in a car and waited by the entrance with the headlights on. Sometimes they laughed too loudly, slammed the door, went upstairs, and the stairwell would keep the smell of cigarettes and her sweet perfume for 5 more minutes. I saw her rarely and spoke to her even less. She wasn't rude, just cold, like someone politely stepping aside because you don't interest her. And then she disappeared. At first, no one cared. Exams, a trip, who knows? But a week passed, then 2, and people started noticing. Our building is nosy, that's the truth. If someone doesn't show up for a while, neighbors start listening, watching, counting footsteps. She doesn't come out, the old women whispered. Not once. Maybe she's sick, someone suggested. Oh, please, Mrs. Helena snorted. She's knocked up. She said it like she was spitting. I remember smirking to myself, not because it was funny, but because it sounded so building-like, so domestic, like plain gossip. And then, at night, I heard crying for the first time, soft, muffled, like through a wall. Not a woman's voice, not an adult's. A baby. I was standing in the kitchen with a mug of tea when I heard it, and my fingers went cold for no reason at all. Because we didn't have babies in our entrance, not at all. The crying lasted a minute, then stopped. The next evening, again, longer. The 3rd night, someone knocked on Mrs. Helena's door, and afterward she told everyone she'd heard it too, and that it was definitely from the 5th. A month later, the girl moved out. Carried a couple of bags, someone helped with boxes. I only saw her for a second. She was pale, with dark circles under her eyes. And the way she looked, like she wasn't looking at the stairwell, but into some hole inside herself. 2 days later, new tenants moved in, and everything was forgotten. Until that night. It was Thursday. I got home late, stayed longer at the job site, then a line at the store, then the bus got stuck in traffic. The building greeted me the way it always did, the smell of damp plaster and the garbage chute. I climbed to the third floor, unlocked my door, took off my jacket, ate something quick, potatoes, a piece of bread, tea. Turned on the TV, but it was just meaningless chatter. My eyes kept closing. When the clock showed 10 to midnight, I turned off the light and was about to lie down when I heard it from the stairwell. Crying. Real. Not the TV, not a cat, not my imagination. A child crying. I sat up in bed and listened. It was somewhere below. First or second floor. The crying came in uneven waves, fading, then swelling again. Like the baby was already hoarse, but still calling out. Then it stopped. The silence fell so hard, I could hear my own breathing. Who could even have a baby, I thought. And then, why is it crying in the stairwell? I got up, went to the door, pressed my ear to it. Silence. I almost convinced myself it was exhaustion when the crying started again, louder. And now there was something wrong about it. Too close to metal, to pipe, like the sound was bouncing inside a hollow tube. I was nervous not only because poor baby, though yes, that too, but because there was no movement in that crying. No footsteps, no adult voice nearby. Only a steady, helpless, terrible call. At the half-hour mark, I heard the door across the hall open. Mason stepped out into the stairwell. We got along. He was a plumber, about 35. A normal guy, hardworking, no nonsense. His wife, Nora, was quiet and homey. Always said hello, kind eyes. Mason didn't notice me at first. I was standing in the crack of my own door. He stopped, listened, squinted. "You hear that too?" he asked suddenly, without looking at me. I opened my door wider. "Yeah, downstairs. What is that?" Mason pressed his lips together like someone who'd already decided. "I'm going down. You?" He looked at me. "You stay here. If anything, call." "Call who?" I asked stupidly. He didn't answer. Just started down the stairs. I stood on the landing and listened. The crying grew raspier, as if the baby didn't have enough air. Then it cut off again, sharp, abrupt. And almost immediately, from below, came a scream. Not a baby's. A man's. Short, jagged, one of those sounds that squeezes your insides into a knot. I ran to the stairwell and saw Mason charging up, clutching his hand to his chest. Blood ran over his fingers. His face was white, like it had been dusted with flour. "Mason!" I shouted. "Are you okay?" He looked at me, and there was something in his eyes I didn't understand at first. Not just fear, disgust, like he'd seen something filthy and impossible. "Don't go down," he rasped. "Don't you dare go down. Come to my place." "What happened?" "Come to my place." Nora opened the door at once. She saw the blood and gasped like she'd been hit. "Oh God, Mason, what is that?" He went into the kitchen, sat on a chair, held out his hand. Blood dripped onto the linoleum. Nora was shaking, but she moved fast. Grabbed a first aid kit, bandages, peroxide. She poured it over his hand. Mason jerked and clenched his teeth. "Call an ambulance," she told me. Mason shook his head. "No, not yet." "Are you out of your mind?" Nora's voice cracked. "It's torn to shreds." He inhaled, exhaled, and looked at me. "The crying. It was coming from the garbage chute," he said. "I thought someone threw a baby away. Do you understand? I thought there was an infant in there." I nodded. I'd thought the same. "I opened the hatch," he continued. Shined my flashlight in. It was dark. I reached in, felt something soft, and that's when it grabbed me. "What grabbed you?" I asked. My voice sounded dry, even to me. Mason swallowed. "A face, like a baby's. Small, wrinkled, the eyes. White. Completely white. No pupils. And the hand. Black. Like it had burned. Claws. Long. Sharp. He showed me his palm. 4 ripped grooves, like iron hooks had dragged through him. It held on. Too tight. Nora stopped bandaging and stared at him. "Mason, what are you saying? It could have been glass, a needle, anything." He snapped his head toward her. "Nora, I'm not an idiot. I saw it. I felt it." The silence was so thick I could hear water groaning inside the radiator. Then, Mason breathed out. Then more hands came out of the chute. 2. Black. And they were like they were searching for something to latch onto. Nora's mouth twitched into a half smile, not because it was funny, but because the brain will do anything to protect itself. "You're joking," she whispered. "I ran," Mason said. "I didn't wait to see it come all the way out." I caught myself staring at his hand, at the blood, at the bandage turning red. If he'd simply cut himself, he would have been swearing, angry, loud. But he spoke quietly, evenly, and that was worse. "We have to call," I said. Mason gave a bitter, ugly laugh. "And say what? Help us, there's a creature with a baby's face on the first floor?" He leaned closer to me. "They'll come, look at us, write us up as drunk lunatics, and leave." He lowered his voice. "We wait for morning. In the morning, we'll see what we can do." Nora clenched the bandage like she wanted to strangle it. "I'm not sleeping," she said. I can't." "Good," Mason replied. "Don't. Listen." I went back to my apartment with the feeling the building had changed. Like the house I'd lived in for years, had suddenly become unfamiliar. I locked the door with 2 deadbolts, then checked again. Then again. Sat on the bed and listened. At first, it was quiet. 10 minutes. Nothing. Then somewhere below came a soft, metallic sound, like someone dragging a fingernail along iron. Thin. Unpleasant. I froze. The sound came again. And again. And I realized it was from the chute. Like something inside was scratching the walls. Then a short rustle, like something sliding upward. I tried to tell myself, rats. Every old building has rats. But rats don't cry. And they don't leave marks like that on a man's hand. Around 2 a.m, I heard a knock, quiet, on my door. I went to the peephole. The stairwell was dark. Our floor light had been flickering for months and was off more often than on. Below was nothing but black. No one in sight. The knock came again, more confident. I stepped back. The knock turned into a hit. Then another. Like something testing the door, seeing whether it would hold. I looked again. Empty hallway. And then I saw movement. Not a person. Something low, close to the floor. Fast. Like a shadow that your eyes can't catch. I stumbled back. A blow struck the door hard enough that the lock clicked. "No," I whispered. And I didn't even know who I was saying it to. The hits became rapid, angry. The door shuddered. It felt like the frame would tear out with it. I backed into the room, grabbed a heavy wrench from the kitchen, the only thing my hands could think of, gripped it until my knuckles whitened. 2 minutes. 3. 5. Then, silence. I stood without moving, listening. My heart hammered in my throat. And then I heard a sound. Right beside me. Not at the door. Inside my apartment. A faint sound. Like breathing. I turned slowly toward the kitchen. Dark. Nothing visible, but I smelled it. Rotten. Sweet sour. Like a trash bin left too long. like meat gone bad. I don't know how long I stood there. Eventually, exhaustion won. I slid down to the floor by the bed, pressed my back to the wall, and fell asleep like I'd dropped into a pit. Morning woke me with a loud pounding. I jerked up. Sunlight already pressed through the curtains. The clock said noon. The pounding came again.
Caleb, open up!
It was Mason. I opened the door, and one look at his face told me the night didn't end badly. The night ended in a way our entrance would never recover from. His hand was wrapped in a thick bandage. His eyes were red, like someone who hadn't slept. "This is..." He exhaled and couldn't find the words. "This is fucked." What happened? He stepped inside and shut the door behind him, like he was afraid something might follow. "Up on 8, he said. A guy found the neighbor from the first floor, his body, in the chute. Something dropped inside me. How? In the chute? Stuffed? Mason said dully. Or dragged, I don't know. But he was stuck. And when they tried to pull him out, he stopped, rubbed his face. He was broken, he said quietly. Like a rag doll. Like someone folded in the wrong way. Over and over. Like it enjoyed it. My stomach turned. "The police?" I asked. "They're already there. They taped off the entrance. And they found more." The words "they found more" sounded like the worst thing he could have said. After that, everything felt like a bad dream. Cars outside. Uniforms. Tape. Neighbors packed at the entrance. Some crying, some yelling, some blaming the police as if the police had done it. Mrs. Helena sat on the bench, rocking back and forth like a pendulum. I told you, she muttered. I knew it would happen. No one listened. I watched black bags carried out of the building. 1, 2, 3. And every time my mind tried not to count. Then they carried out another, smaller, not even a bag really, something less. I didn't go closer. I couldn't. The investigation moved fast and dirty because people needed an answer. They needed a culprit, a human, a name, a face, a reason you could say out loud and close the door on. And soon, a reason appeared. The girl from the 5th floor. Turns out she really had been pregnant. People said she got pregnant at a party by someone she couldn't name. She gave birth alone, hid everything. The baby was sick. She didn't go to a hospital, didn't call anyone. She threw it into the garbage chute. The official story was dry. Abandonment of a newborn resulting in death. Then, intentional killing. Trial. Sentence. 7 years. 7 years sounded almost like a joke, if I'm honest. Not because I wanted punishment, but because 10 black bags lay behind police tape, and the world demanded justice and got paperwork. But the worst part was this. The killer of 10 residents was not identified. The case was suspended, filed away. You can't arrest something that doesn't fit on a form. Only Mason and I knew. We didn't say it out loud. Because if you do, you become the crazy one. The one nobody believes. The one people pity. The one they whisper about in the stairwell. Caleb lost it. Mason too. Stress, probably. So we stayed silent. But sometimes, rarely, we'd catch each other's eyes on the stairs, and it was enough. Enough to know we were both hearing the same memory. That crying, that empty people, that smell. Sometimes I think the thing didn't come from outside. Maybe it was always in the building, just waiting. Waiting for someone to do something so vile the house itself would want to answer. Because evil doesn't vanish. It stays. In walls, in pipes, in hollow spaces. And if you throw something living into the dark will throw it back someday. Only not living anymore.